Welcome to Coleman Certified SBA 7A Loan Liquidation Training. Coleman faculty instructor Lance Sexton. This is our meet and greet. This is the kickoff, Lance.
I'm excited to be here, Bob. You know how I feel about this training. I've done certification course series in 3 different areas and quite a number of trainings. And I feel like liquidation training is the most important.
Oh,
and really excited about the folks that have signed up because this is what gets your bank paid. I mean, you make your SBA loan depending on that SBA guarantee, and this course is going to take you through the information that you need, the techniques that you need to get paid on the guarantee.
Well, I know the students are going to have a wonderful time in the class. You're a wonderful instructor, and I certainly enjoy watching you work from that standpoint. Let's go over some house rules for those of you who have never done this before. We want your questions. You can ask questions during the week. Also in the live office hours session, you can ask a question. But we encourage you to send emails directly to Lance. We like to play Stump the Instructor. And then we will...
And Bob, they've done that before. So.
Yes. So send the questions to Lance. You can always change the names to protect the guilty, and he will go over those with you. So how this works is everyone now has access to Litmos. That's our platform. Lance, we upload every Tuesday. It's really Monday, but we tell you Tuesday. That week's content, we have reading assignments. You have videos, about 5 or 6 videos, 8 to 10 minutes each. Lance, how much time should they expect to spend each week?
Well, I think, Bob, the trainings range anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes. The reading materials, probably you need to reserve 30 minutes to look over the reading materials. Probably 30 to 40 minutes per day for 5 days. And hopefully you'll participate in office hours on Friday, which will only take out 15 to 20 minutes of your day. But as you know, Bob, office hours has become one of the most valuable parts of the training.
Very much so, because you're able to get feedback. The training is online. You can take that at your leisure. The office hours is a live component. But hey, if you cannot access office hours, guess what? We record that. We put that online also. So you can do this training at your leisure. However, Lance and I would strongly encourage you to try to keep up on a weekly basis. And hey, if you don't get to that content, you only get through half the content that week, still log on to the office hours session. These videos, you can go back and view them anytime you want. They will be up online for at least a year. So we've tried to make this as simple and accessible to you as possible. But we want to start some poll questions, Lance.
Love the poll question. Hey, Bob, I do want to throw the gauntlet down, and in the office hours session, I'd like to have one live video question from this group.
We haven't done that yet. We don't need video. We don't have to go that far, but just maybe an audio question. How's that? If you want to be really brave and go video, we can accommodate you for that as well. But we certainly will accept the email questions and, of course, the questions through the GoToWebinar chat interface. When do you complete a post-default site visit on a payment defaulted SBA loan? You got 4 choices. Why are you asking this question, Lance?
Well, Bob, this, as you'll find as you go through the training, the post-default site visit actually is one of the easiest ways to avoid a repair on the guarantee of your SBA loan. So I just wanted to use this as a way to measure the group and how we're starting out.
Our group is righteous. 100% of them do it within 60 days of defaulting.
This is an excellent group, Bob.
That's a good place to start. Very good.
Yes.
Good. Question number 2. Have you ever conducted a litigation on an SBA loan without preparing a litigation plan? Why are you asking this question, Lance?
Bob, I want honest responses on this, and the reason I say that, I work a significant number of non-performing loans for several banks throughout the United States. And one of the most common mistakes, I dealt with one of these last week, Bob, where they had conducted over $30,000 in litigation and had not prepared a litigation plan or got it approved by the SBA. So that's partially why I asked the question. If you answer yes to it, don't feel bad. You're in a pretty large group, but this course is going to spend a week preparing you to conduct litigation on your SBA loans, do it properly, and do it in a way where those litigation expenses can be counted as recoverable expenses.
Lance, for the 17% who have confessed to doing this, are they in trouble?
Bob, it depends on the level of spending, but the one thing I'll share with people, in any aspect of SBA servicing, whether it's regular servicing or non-performing servicing, you may have made a mistake. You may not have conducted something when you were supposed to. Doesn't mean forget it and sweep it over the corner and hope it goes away. If you've conducted some litigation and you don't have a litigation plan, do it now. And so, there's always differences, but you know, the one thing I've found in working, because I quite often get science projects, Bob, in my office, and I'll get a loan where they've already went way beyond the deadline date for something. They've already spent more than they should have, and I have to try to fix it. And there have been circumstances where we presented litigation plans and expenses for approval after, and they got approved.
Good.
So it's never. There is a best practice, Bob, but the best practice is get it done, regardless of the stage.
And question number 3, how do you determine the amount of your, I apologize, I'm on a different script than what we have here. When do you prepare a liquidation plan in your SBA loans?
Well, and I touch base with this one, Bob. I think a lot of SBA lenders and I call you guys intensive servicers, because servicing a loan that's in liquidation is certainly more challenging and requires more knowledge than servicing a performing loan. But because a liquidation plan doesn't require approval in 98% of circumstances, they don't do it.
Lance, we got 80% say they do it within 60 days and 20% say we do it within 90 days.
Good. That's a.
And one more poll question. Is it coming up, Joseph? I don't see it. How do you determine the amount of your protective bid at a foreclosure sale on a property that secures the SBA loan? We have, I like that before, just wing it.
Bob, I asked this question primarily because this has been an issue that's come up several times in some liquidation projects that I'm working on, and there is a proper way to calculate the protective bid, and we will cover that in this training. I think that I have witnessed a lot of SBA banks doing it wrong. So, you know, if you don't get what I consider the correct answer, don't feel bad, but we're going to share with you how you're supposed to do it.
We have 20% who use the default appraised value. We have 60% who calculate, now 67% who calculate a net recoverable value and compare that to the loan balance. And we have 17% who just wing it.
Hey, Bob, I love that they got the acronym NRV correct.
Very good. Tell us about week 1.
Well, week 1 is going to cover liquidation expectations. I think we're going to talk about, well, I know we're going to talk about putting loans into liquidation. We are going to talk about the liquidation plan. And Bob, it's important. And here's the reason. That's where you calculate your net recoverable value. And as you walk through the liquidation process on your SBA loan, that net recoverable value number is going to come up over and over again in the offer and compromise, in calculating your protective bid, in looking at potentially releasing collateral. So the liquidation plan, even though for 98% of your cases you don't have to send it in to SBA for approval, they do expect to see it in file. And again, you collect important information that's going to walk you through the liquidation process on your SBA loan, and most importantly, you're going to calculate that net recoverable value number, which becomes critically important in the liquidation process.
Very good, very good. And I think the next slide, the overall, look, there you go, the course overview. Lance, 6 months from now, when this is a little bit fuzzy in our memory, what is the takeaway that you want the students to remember?
But I think the thing that I would hope they would remember, the liquidation process is the most challenging area of servicing an SBA loan, and doing it properly is I'm not going to say it is a moneymaker, Bob. I can use an example. I had a bank in the Midwest who had a portfolio, and they had submitted purchase demand kits, and they'd been returned from SBA, and they just gave up. And I picked that portfolio up, corrected some things that needed correcting, resubmitted all the PDKs, and got them somewhere in the ballpark of $1.2 million in recoveries from SBA. So this is the place where you're going to have the biggest impact for your bank in SBA servicing, understanding how to do this properly, and getting the guarantee paid, avoiding repairs. So, this is a very important part of SBA lending, and I don't think people would participate in the SBA loan program, or I don't think they should, if they don't want to understand the liquidation process well.
Tell us about the reading assignments that you've assigned for week 1 now.
Primarily just reading materials from the SOP. I threw the 50-57 in, Bob, because the 50-57 is the Bible for both performing and non-performing servicing. Put an article in that I personally authored on how to service a non-performing loan. Provided some information about that important post-default site visit, probably the easiest way to avoid a repair. Some information about doing a liquidation plan. So there's some great reading materials in there, and it should support the materials that we'll cover in those 5 sessions.
Very good, very good. Joseph, has anybody completed this session yet this week? Okay. It is all uploaded, ready to go. If you have any issues on accessing your Litmos account, please get a hold of Joseph at joseph@colemanreport.com, or just call him and he'll walk you through it. One of the things we do after every session is we have a little quiz. The purpose of the quiz, Lance?
The purpose of the quiz is just to reinforce the materials and information that you've covered. There are no trick questions. Again, it's intended just to revisit the materials that were covered and just to support that information, just drive it home for you. So they're not difficult, but it's important to look at it in a quiz format.
There's no, I think the Litmos account does grade it, but we don't keep track of that. You can go back and retake it if you're concerned about that. It's only 3 or 4 questions. At the end of the course, Lance, you will have a multiple choice. This is the goal, to get a nice plaque that we send out to you from that standpoint. And tell us how that works.
Well, there's a final exam. It's 50 questions, similar types of questions to the ones you'll have after each segment. You've got as many times as you want to take it. And, Bob, I love the people that participate in these certification series, because they'll take the 50-question test and they'll miss one, and I'll get 3 emails trying to prove to me that my answer's wrong. But everybody wants to get a perfect score.
And to their credit, you've been wrong on a couple of them.
Bob, it's mostly because I didn't think I was dyslexic, but when I send Joseph the quiz key, sometimes I get my letters and numbers out of whack. But if you find a question while you walk through the quizzes that you feel is incorrect, do not hesitate to send me an email. But when you complete it and get 90% correct, you get the beautiful
We'll send that to
certificate.
you.
The other thing I want to point out, I was in Washington a few weeks ago and had an opportunity to talk to some of the people in headquarters. And one of the most common things they're going to ask you about in the SBA review that many of you will go through is, how does your bank train its SBA employees? And this certification is one of the best ways to prove to SBA that your bank wants to train employees.
That you're serious and a prudent lender. Absolutely, from that standpoint.
Hey, Bob, if I could take a second, I just wanted to send a special hi. I mean, I love everybody that's on the program, but Bill has participated in some of my trainings before. And the reason I want to do this, Bill, I sat with your CEO on a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Dallas on Monday, and couldn't think. I shared with him that you'd been participating in the certification courses, and he was excited about that. Had an opportunity to have a good conversation. So, Bill, when you get a chance, shoot your CEO a question and tell him that, or shoot your CEO an email and tell him you're participating in the certification courses. But I had a chance to visit with him about it, and he was very excited about it.
So, with that, please, we want your questions during the week. We'll address them in office hours. Office hours will be at the same time every Friday for the next 8 weeks. So please take advantage of that. And do we have any outstanding questions, Joseph? We are clear. Well, with
Hey,
that,
Bob, I did want to just mention the importance of office hours. We just finished up the closer course, and we had so many excellent questions throughout the 8-week period, and it made office hours become a great learning experience as well. And I would just encourage this group, as you go through your training, if you have questions about a particular area, or if you even have a specific SBA loan that you're working on, because we got several of those questions that you'd like to ask a specific question for direction in the liquidation of that SBA loan, please send them. You can email them to Joseph or myself at colemanreport.com. And it's L. Sexton at Coleman Report. And is Joseph's?
Actually, you're Lance at Coleman Report and Joseph at Coleman Report. And
Yeah,
Bob at Coleman
Lance,
Report.
but please send those questions in and participate in office hours. It's a great opportunity to just expand this learning opportunity.
And what we found is we understand life gets involved and you have jobs and families, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you keep up with the schedule and you say, hey, I need to have this done by Friday, that increases your chances to take full advantage of the training that we're offering. So we stumbled upon this, but Lance, I agree with you. This is a tool that enhances the learning experience and helps tremendously. So.
And just a final thought, Bob, as you know, if you guys have a question, you email it to me. I'm going to answer it that day, usually within 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah. So if you send me a question, I'm going to do my best to respond. If I don't know the answer, I'll find it, and I'll provide it to you.
Well, with that, thank you all for joining us. I'm looking forward to the next 8 weeks. This concludes office hours. Excuse me, this includes the meet and greet. Well, I'll talk to you on Friday. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.